Good afternoon. Welcome to today's edition of the Coal Seam. I'm Chris Hamilton, and I'll be your host over the next 28 minutes or so. Joining me today on our program, I'm so pleased and proud to announce, is Governor Jim Justice. And we're going to be talking about some of his policies and programs that has been so instrumental along with President Trump's efforts to see the coal industry recover and once again be vibrant and strong. Governor, thank you so much for taking time from your busy schedule to join me on the show today.
Chris, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it. There's so many good things happening around our great state as we sit here. We're seeing a lot of new businesses. We're seeing our roads being developed. And of course, we want to talk about some of the things that are going on within the coal industry, as I indicated, that are positive. So why don't we just dive right into the recent action that you've championed to make sure that one of our coal-fired power plants, the Pleasant plant, remains operational.
Right. Well, I mean, Chris, to be perfectly honest, it's it's always difficult, to basically pull some funds out of the state, especially if you don't have any funds to pull out. But we've got funds to pull out today because of our surpluses and all the good stuff that's going on. We've got real money, coming into our state. The Pleasant power plant, it's easy for me because just this. That plant would have closed, and if that plant closes, there's 160 or so odd people up there. They're going to lose their jobs, but there's all the people that are within the trades, that work, the pipe fitters, and on and on and on. The $400 million that is spent every year. I mean, it is phenomenal to just think of the impact of the coal that was coming to the plant. I mean, from the miners, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miners. The community in every way, shape, form, and fashion. I mean, this really has a multiplier effect in the thousands of jobs, and it is so important to save. And really, at the end of the day, I mean, they are paying a tax that no one else is paying. I mean, they're disadvantaged by paying what they're paying. The request was in some way substantial. We got wind of it on Wednesday before. I worked my blooming tail off, but a lot of legislatures did as well. And I think, in one of the first really strong moves is, we passed this from a bipartisan standpoint. And I was really proud of the way everybody just jumped in. And, and it's all about saving and creating jobs. And I always love it when it's coal jobs. I mean, that's really, really important.
You mentioned $400 million in overall economic activity from that plant. And I guess that's the 160 plant workers, the 3 or 4 coal mining operations that feed and supply coal. I mean, that's a phenomenal, there has to be over 1,000, 1,500 direct jobs when you add the power plant workers, the coal mining jobs, and then you get into all the shippers, you said the specialty maintenance people that are all working up there. I mean, that's $400 million, you can't replace that.
I don't see how you can possibly replace it, and I've got to give a lot of credit to Jay Powell, he was the head of the county commission up there, and just how he really pushed Jay drove me crazy, to tell you the truth. He was just after me nonstop and everything, but he has, the people of the area, he has them in his heart, and I do too. And so, and our legislatures did, and so it's just so many people jumped in this effort and everything to make it become a reality because we were at crunch time. It was panic time, and and we had to make a decision. That's when I think I'm at my best because, I don't want to analyze and psychoanalyze and study and, commission studies and never get anything done. I want to get stuff done, and we just should have done this. This is all there is to it. It was a good thing to do, and it makes me proud to be able to save all those jobs.
Well, of course, we through the Coal Association, we're totally supportive of this effort. the United Mine Workers, a variety of unions, trade unions, were all in support. And it was really just pleasing to see how well the legislature was working with you to get this done. I think there was only a couple of dissenting votes for whatever reason, but by and large, it was bipartisan. It was just real. It was good to watch that work like it's supposed to here on such an important issue.
Well, Chris, you make several points. I mean, whether it be the Coal Association and their, what they contribute to the state's unbelievable. The United Mine Workers, and not always are we aligned together from the Coal Association and United Mine Workers. In this situation, we were. The trades were right in with us and everything. And I don't have a clue. You must have been on the planet Mongo, to have been one of the legislators that decided to vote against this, because you're voting directly right in the face of, I don't like coal, I don't like our coal miners, or you're voting directly in the face of us losing real jobs within this state. I just couldn't, I really couldn't believe that it wasn't unanimous, and I was really pleased that it was unanimous in the Senate.
And you have a bill signing this coming Tuesday at 1 o'clock at the Pleasance plant?
Yeah, that'll be fun. We want everybody to come out to that and everything. It'll be a good day, and it'll be a celebration type day and everything, because it should be that. You see, that's the very thing that I say so often, but we have got to become really proud of our own pawn all the time, and we've got to celebrate the goodness that's going on, and it carries us. Enthusiasm is contagious, and we just don't want to keep dragging along like we have in the past decades and everything. I mean, we proved how to be dead last. Now let's prove how to win. And so yeah, it's going to be a good day.
Kind of interesting, just side note, 9 months ago, or maybe a year ago now, I was at a major business function, and a lot of business people, and everybody was just so positive because of all good things going on. And, and somebody made the comment that you just did, and it just reminded me. They said, we can always go back to being negative. Yeah. But it is contagious, and we all need to be, talking about how uplifting and all, based on all the good things going around us. Talking about the power plants, a thought occurred to me that as part of West Virginia's recovery, and we're seeing coal trains moving throughout the southern part of the state once again, and we hear new mines opening. But you've been working with President Trump, especially over the past 18 months, 2 years now, to try to keep our not only our West Virginia plants running, but the eastern plants running. And so saving Pleasance in a lot of ways was part of that strategy, and something you've been advocating for several years.
Well, Chris, let me explain. And I really believe that the good ideas come to me from the good Lord. I'll take credit for the bad ones, on my own. But really and truly, I kept trying to just figure, how do we solve this riddle with the coal miners and get our coal miners back to work? How do you solve a riddle where you're buying a 30-inch seam versus an Illinois basin 20-foot seams, or Powder River basin, 80-foot seams? How do you solve the riddle? How can we become competitive and everything else? And then it just hit me, and like I said, I think this comes from the good Lord. I said, I got it. I know what to do. And so I went to the president and I said, Mr. President, picture just this. What if we entirely lost the eastern coal fields? And we almost did. But what if we did, from the standpoint of our thermal production? And because we just can't be competitive, and they're gone. The deep mines are flooded, the surface mines are reclaimed, and all of a sudden you're solely dependent. Wow. You've got your alternative energy sources. You've got them at play a little bit, but they can't carry the load. We know that. And so you're solely dependent upon Western coal and solely dependent upon natural gas. Now, and what if you, Mr. President, put a bomb at one of the junction points where the natural gas pipelines are going in all kinds of different directions, and I put a bomb on one of the western bridges, that was the main bridge that was bringing the coal, and they go off the same day? what happens? What happens to us? You know, well, we'll lose millions of people. And, you know, the president nor I are in any way going to be putting a bomb anywhere. But there are mean people out there in the world. And if they did, I said, so Mr. President, let me tell you how we can preserve our eastern coal fields forever. Now, if we do this and we pull this off, at the end of the day, it will perpetuate thousands more coal jobs. You know, but what I would do is create a homeland security incentive payment to the power companies for every ton of Northern App or Central App coal that they buy. Now that encompasses Pennsylvania and Virginia and Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Tennessee. But really and truly, if we don't move in that direction, and the president's with us, and Rick Perry's with us, and absolutely we've been just pounding it and everything. Now the only reason it's not done today, the only reason really and truly is thermal coal ran up to $75 and everything. So the pressure of everything kind of went away and everything, but it's still there, and he knows it's there. I mean, when we were in Huntington together, you know, years back, he looked right, not years back, but a year ago, whatever. He looked right at me and said, "We're doing your coal plan," you know, and so, you know, it's still really at play. We celebrate the miners we have back to work today, but we got to do more. We got to do more because we're still on the bubble. You know, our exports ran up on thermal coal and it really helped us. But, you know, now they backed off some and everything. And so we've still, you know, our metallurgical production looks great. It's and fueled our steam, our steel industry and all that kind of stuff. Great, that's good. But at the end of the day, 80% of our tonnage comes from thermal. And we've got to find a way to protect that in West Virginia.
You know, actually, that percentage is probably becoming, you know, more balanced, but it's still much higher on thermal. And you know, it was just a couple of years ago that West Virginia coal and our coal-fired utilities were fueling almost 50% of the entire East Coast, and that's phenomenal. And I don't think people realize. Well, everybody knows the discomfort if that electric supply is cut off. But if that supply of household electricity is cut off for more than 24 hours, then you leave discomfort and get into some real adverse health and human danger concerns. I mean, it's just phenomenal.
Well, if we would lose the Eastern Power Grid, you know, you have a bridge or a pipeline disruption. You don't fix that in 3 hours. You know, the power doesn't come back on in 3 hours. And if we'd have that in the winter, literally millions would die.
Yes.
You know, and so I just think that you know, whether the balance is 80-20, 70-30, 65-35, whatever, met to steam, you know, no matter what that combination is, still there's a tremendous amount of West Virginia production going towards thermal. And we have got to ensure that continues to happen. And you're right, you know, Chris, you know, years ago, West Virginia was fueling the world thermal-wise and everything. And then Obama comes along and, you know, closes 600 coal-fired power plants, and it just blew our legs off. That's just all there is to it. But what we want to do, you know, we got to some way, whatever we do, preserve Trump, you know, and then what we've got to do is we've got to look at the new era of maybe developing new coal-fired power plants. And you know, we've got even a program on the table where we could use some biomass and a coal-fired power plant, smaller scale and everything. You know, we're working on that as well.
Yeah, Steve Winberg, the president's chief energy on fossil fuels, was in town the other day, and what's first thing he said was, we got to be working towards the next generation of plants, because all these plants around the state will be aging out in 10, 15, probably 15 or 20 years.
Right.
But as you well know, you have to begin the permitting and all the environmental assessment. That just takes way too long, but years and years. And they're anxious to partner with us under your leadership and under the president's vision to keep coal-fired electricity and those power facilities operating well into the future.
Well, Chris, I mean, we have a really unique situation, and this is all there is to it. You've got a president and a governor that just happen to be best friends and talk all the time.
That was obvious in Wheeling this week.
Well, it's just the way it is. And we talk all the time, you know. I mean, I had the legislators all over here, and they were here for a cookout and everything. And the phone kept ringing, and it was the president and everything. Well, I couldn't leave the library because I was talking to the president, you know. It's hard to imagine, but it's the truth. And so, but here's the thing. I mean, it's so unique. Can you just imagine that the governor from West Virginia is talking to the president of the United States directly all the time? Well, it gives us the opportunity for just that, to have opportunities and everything. Now, let me just say just this, that the president will work with us. Rick Perry from the energy side will work with us. You know, from the standpoint, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but in West Virginia, we cut on timbering 1/3 of our growth. And so what that means is the trees die and fall on the ground, honestly, 3 times faster than they're being cut. And so I'm not an advocate just go out and cut the tree, because we want to keep our beautiful canopy and our beautiful mountains all the time. Great. But when that tree falls on the ground, eventually there's a fire or something, and the carbon that tree sucked up for years and years is released right back into the atmosphere. Now, if you could draw a circle around an area and say, within that circle, we're never going to cut any more than our growth. So our trees will never change. You know, and within that circle, there's enough coal to fire a plant forever. So, and what we do is, and you don't even have to have a railroad, because you can be hauling in basically lumber or timber, you know, that's biomass, and you can be wood chipping that, and you can be doing the coal at the same time in an area, and then putting that into the grid, smaller type plants and whatever. That's what, you know, the people are looking at, and, you know, and so we've just got a bunch of chances to do a lot of things.
We really do, and you know, it gets back to West Virginia always being characterized as the energy state, you know, the center for energy and commerce right here. And to the extent we can affirm that going forward with some of these ideas being implemented, it just makes all the sense in the world.
Well,
And our university, we've had some meetings with our universities to try to get them to be more focused on research projects that actually aids the get us a little closer to where you want to take us.
Yeah.
And so to the extent all that can be coordinated will be very positive.
Chris, there's so much to talk about. We'll never get it in this one session, but just to take off on just what you just said, we have been blessed with natural resources in this state like you can't imagine. And we need to be proud of that. You know, we all want clean air and the cleanest water. It's not that we don't want that, and we all want to embrace the alternative energy sources, oil and gas. We want to embrace coal. We're an all-in strategy. You are,
Yes.
I am,
Yes.
okay? We are an energy state. That's all there is to it. And we need to be proud of that and everything. I mean, for crying out loud, you know, you go to Iowa and see if they're not proud of their corn farmers. They are. You know, so many different times we just have shot ourselves right in the foot. And it's hurt us. In West Virginia, can you just imagine, and this is the greatest news in the world for me. But can you imagine, you know, all of a sudden we pass the Roads to Prosperity thing, and coal miners are going to work, gas people are going to work, and all that stuff. And before you know it, we're first in the nation in construction jobs. It's unbelievable. Then right behind that, we become first in the nation in revenue for a 10-month period and everything. And so second in the nation. with like an 11.2 or 11.5% growth. Then all of a sudden, Wilbur Ross, the Secretary of Commerce, tweets out and says, we're first in the nation in personal income growth. Then we go 30 more days, and Wilbur Ross texts out and everything. Congratulations, West Virginia again. Now you're first in the nation in GDP growth. And imagine this in West Virginia, the state that we love the most, that we think is the greatest and everything, the greatest of all time and everything. But the outside world doesn't look at us that way. The outside world looks at us differently. And so to all of a sudden what's happening in the outside world is just this. Now all of a sudden we're becoming the diamond in the rough that they missed. Instead of being that state that they looked on with all the bad stuff, all the bad jokes and everything else about West Virginia, now we're becoming maybe something that they really missed. And so we sure got a lot of people out there that are still really hurting, and we want to flip over every rock and continue to try to help everybody. But I'm going to tell you, it's better. It's lots better.
Well, it is, and it goes back to what you were saying earlier about it being contagious. I know at the Business and Industry Council, which I participate with, and most businesses around the state, we put together a video just 6 months ago that's run on social media that's talking about West Virginia rising. And it's pointing to all the new, it says very clearly that we saw expansion over at the Toyota plant. We have Procter & Gamble up north, I know Motors up in the
north of Brumman.
Everywhere. And we have all this pipeline going in statewide. We have practically
tourism exploding.
Tourism's exploding, and the highways. There's and I've heard a number of people. I've said it myself for the first time in my adult life. We have more jobs than what we have qualified applicants. And that's a great problem to have. I mean, it's terrible that we can't fill all those jobs on one hand, but it's just such a great problem to have versus having no jobs.
That's right. One guy on my staff came in to me and said, Governor, we've got 20,000 great paying jobs in West Virginia, and we can't find the people to fill the jobs. What are we going to do with this problem? And I said, let me tell you, that problem is my job. That is my job. My job is to continue all the time to have 20,000 great paying jobs in West Virginia that you're looking for people for. Because if we get those jobs filled, let's get those jobs filled. But then let's have 20,000 more and 20,000 more and everything. We've got issues. I mean, there's issues out there. There's issues, with the terrible drug addiction and everything. We're working on it, and we're making real headway with it and everything. We're trying to work on everything. I mean, just a little while ago, I was with the Gold Star families and everything, and there was 4 Gold Star moms there, 1 Gold Star sister there and everything. It's tough stuff. The people that have given the ultimate sacrifice and everything. We're going to do a tremendous memorial and everything, and it's being built now and all that. And it's just wonderful. But we were able to help our veterans. We were able to help our elderly with the Social Security stuff and everything. There's lots of stuff going on. I mean, and it's good stuff.
We talked a little bit about the gas pipeline. I know you're also working on the storage hub and all this downstream petrochemical manufacturing. And I know the coal industry really embraces all the good things that are happening for the gas industry. I think the gas industry is very supportive. We work very well together, and I'm not sure everybody really understands that, how well the different industries work together with your administration to try to promote growth in both coal and in natural gas, and I think we're getting that done.
Well, a lot of people don't realize it. I mean, really and truly, they think that you're competing against one another, and you're really not. And absolutely, everyone really truly embraces. I mean, at least we do. From the Coal Association, from the governorship, and everything, we embrace all in. Everybody all in. But from the standpoint of the natural gas hub and the petrochemical industry, it's incredible opportunity, unbelievable opportunity. And it's going to happen. Now, we got snafu'd a little bit with all these tariffs and governments, you know, from the China side and whatever, you know, hacking up with one another and all that kind of stuff. But I'm telling you, you always remember just this. You always put the hog confinement building where the cornfield is. And you're going to end up with a natural gas hub. You're going to end up with crackers. You're going to end up with the petrochemical industry. As sure as I know my name, if we can keep Trump around and we can keep this thing going, you're going to end up with that in West Virginia as well.
We even have a new coal to liquids plant being proposed for Mason County, and you know they're not looking for any fiscal contribution from the state or anything.
And they can spawn off others. You know, I mean that's the thing. You know, I mean they're going to use 1 million tons of coal a year.
Yep.
I mean that coal to liquid plant we need to all get behind and everything. Zero emissions. It's just unbelievable. You know, and it's just it's going on. I mean, we can't keep up with the good news. I mean, that's all there is to it, and that's what we need to be telling, right? Just that.
We're heading towards the finish line here today. We have about a minute left, and I also want to make sure that everybody realizes that it was you that championed the reduced severance this year and this economic opportunity legislation to try to accelerate coal's recovery back to where we were, and we're just so appreciative of that, speaking with my coal hat on.
Well, Chris, from the standpoint of the reduction in severance or the incentive deal to where people would invest in West Virginia in coal, I go back to one thing. One coal miner job is the equivalent, and it multiplies into 6 to 14 more. And it just goes on and on and on. We can't lose our coal miners. And absolutely, we need to do any and everything we possibly can to protect them and help them. And so I was really proud to be able to get this through.
Governor, thank you so much. We are out of time. And as you said, we're just scratching the surface on this big universe of energy. And I just want to publicly thank you so much for your leadership in this critical area of energy and coal, and all you've done on behalf of coal miners around the state. So thank you. We'll get you back on soon and expand on some of these other points. And thank you for tuning in and watching the Coal Seam on the Library Television Network.